The impossible dream is get the Daytona 500 or have an opportunity to try.
67 years old, let's go do the Daytona 500? What are you, kidding me?
My whole journey on the road to Daytona, racing right there, all began right here in the dirt.
Benny, in the fall of 1997, him and his girlfriend was going back home, and there was a bunch of cars sitting out there at the road. He said, let's stop. Well, we was having the end-of-season championship, and Benny got hooked right there.
We built a car, and we both shared that car. He did the bomber division, and I did the powder puff division, and so we did that for like 5 years.
The first 4 or 5 races, the car was not set up at all, and I did more donuts and spin-outs than anybody has ever seen. Mary laughed and laughed and laughed, and finally one day she told me I'd never won a race, and that really upset me. I said, just wait and see. The second year, we won 11 firsts and 7 seconds. After that, there was a guy that had a cup car that we painted. I would always sit in these cars and think about driving one, and he told me if I wanted to drive a car that I needed to go to school, and there was a racing school in Charlotte that I could go to and learn how to drive a race car. After going to their school, we got an ARCA license, got an ARCA car, went to Daytona, and spent 3 days at Daytona driving all we wanted to with that race car. I said, I can do this stuff, and I really liked it. I raced 2.5 years on the ARCA series. Couldn't ever do good in there because the equipment I had was not any good. It just wouldn't handle and wouldn't run. It was shade tree style.
I met Benny probably 3 years ago, and he had been running the ARCA schedule. He'd run 2 years, on his own deal. He wanted to step up his program from where he was at, get into better cars and, better people working on the cars and more organized and stuff like that. So that's where I came in, was, to help him, do a better job.
Now, Bob knows a lot more about racing than I do, big time. He's been in it all of his life, and I've only been in it for just a short period of time in my life. And I've learned everything from scratch, and he kind of grew up with it.
There's a big approval process when you want to go from ARCA, which is, it's kind of down the ladder to make the big jump into the Sprint Cup deal and stuff like that. So we had to do, some races so we can get an approval process from NASCAR so we can go do the Daytona 500. Well, the biggest challenge there is to really accelerate his learning curve, to get him, up to speed with the faster cars and stuff like that. And the bottom line is we need good finishes.
We've got to finish Pocono. We've got to finish Chicagoland. We've got to finish Kansas. We've got to finish Rockingham. And we've got to finish the Daytona ARCA race in February. And if all that happens, NASCAR will consider giving me a license to attempt to get in the Daytona 500.
Here you got a guy that's 67 years old, and he's not letting nothing hold him back. So, and then they have the support of AARP behind them, and it's huge.
I've been in Chastain, AARP member, class of 60, going on 70, at 185 miles an hour on my drive to the Daytona 500.